This is your Sky Bet League 2 weekend review, including some FA Cup fourth round chat as well. It is sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. League 2's final FA Cup fighters fell in the round of 4, the fourth round. But they did so bravely.
The round of 4.
I got carried away.
That's the semi-finals, I think.
Man City beat Salford 2-0 just 1 year after beating them 8-0. So a really good improvement.
James Trafford made a great save from Ben Woodburn shot.
There you go.
At 1-0.
Yep. And the numbers suggest that they're doing a much better job defending their box, which has been reflected all season long for Salford. They're much better defensively than they were previously. And Grimsby hosted Wolves. Grimsby have been the greatest EFL giant killers of recent times, and they went toe-to-toe as we expected them to. Only one shot on target each in the game, but Wolves just went in.
Did you see the pitch?
Yeah.
You can't go toe-to-toe if your toes under submerged by mud.
Mud wrestling, and the Wolves won, sadly. In League 2, it was first v second. Bromley against Notts County.
Just thinking, who'd feather in mud, fish or wolves? Definitely wolves. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, fair enough. Bromley, Notts County, George, what happened? What was the score and what happened?
Michael Cheek put Bromley 1-0 up. And then Notts County equalised from the spot from Jody Jones. And the decision to give the penalty is contentious, to put it mildly.
I agree. Just outside the box, the initial contact.
Or to quote Andy Woodman's post-match interview, 1.5 yards outside the box.
Right.
Which was just a great...
Was there secondary contact? And if so, was that inside the box?
Because as we know...
It's right on the edge to me.
If it keeps going in, then, if the fouling continues in the box, then it's a penalty. But from where I'm looking, from where I'm standing, Jones ghosts past him. And there is a tug, and then Jones falls into the box, I would say. Yeah. And that looked pretty clear to me. The referee, who I think was Charles Breakspear, was very, very keen to give the penalty and ignored any protests. I really also liked Andy Woodman's... There are some games, right, where I'm watching... I don't watch many post-match manager interviews, but there are some matches where I'm like, okay, I need to see what the manager's going to say about this. And Woody didn't disappoint. And so he started off by saying 1.5 yards outside, and then he said, some people are going to listen to this and say sour grapes. Absolutely. Basically like, yeah, I am. I've got sour grapes because it wasn't a penalty. So like, what are you trying to say? Really good. I love him. I love the fact they're top of the league and they've got a draw against the team that are closest to them. And understandably, he's absolutely livid because there shouldn't have been a penalty. It was a game, as you'd expect, between these two teams where there weren't loads of opportunities. It was pretty scrappy, but two very good sides, two good defensive teams. Notts County dominated the ball. Neither team missed loads of chances. Robertson, was sent off late on for a second yellow, but a point. Probably not a bad result for either team, albeit, I'm sure the Bromley manager doesn't agree.
Well, I'm sad because it's the end of my favourite streak. First time in the league this season that Bromley haven't scored 2 or more at home.
Sort it out, lads.
Shrewsbury beat Swindon by 3-1. So Swindon in third, not capitalising on first and second, sharing points. But I just really want to talk positively about Shrewsbury Town because I have not had many opportunities to do that over the last few years. Ewan Morgan put the 1-0 up. His first senior league goal, he benefited from some good play from Luca Houle to hook the ball back in. Swindon's defence was sleeping. Ewan Morgan was not. How do you like your eggs, Ewan Morgan? Poached. No. Swindon equalised 1-1. Messy equaliser, you have to say, sort of bobbled in. Kirkman taking the credit. And at that point, it's half-time. It's Shrewsbury 1, Swindon 1. Shrews are at the top of the table. Swindon are at the top of the table. Shrewsbury at the bottom of the table. You think Swindon will take some momentum into the second half, but whatever Gavin Cowan said or did at half-time worked really well because it was a strong Shrewsbury response. Their second goal, I haven't been back through all of their goals this season. It wouldn't take that long to watch them all. But I think this must be top 3. It was a proper goal from Shrewsbury. Not a set-piece goal, a proper football goal. Scully with a pass through for Burko, the left-back, streaking in behind. His cross, Lloyd in the middle to poach the finish. 2-1. Great football from Shrewsbury. Great to be able to say. The third goal was Freeman firing through a forest of bodies after a goalmouth scramble for 3-1. So, for Shrewsbury, I'm feeling positive. I think it's their best performance of the season. It's probably the best team that they've beaten. It's probably their most dominant performance of the season, certainly taking away any of their home wins against other relegation scrappers. Richard, who's a Swindon fan in the squad, said himself, Shrewsbury did not play like a team in a relegation battle. And I've actually hated how they've played this season. I think they basically have played like a team in a relegation battle. And the fact that Cowan has managed to get a performance like this out of them is really notable for me. So back-to-back league wins for them. They put a decent cushion between themselves and the bottom two. For Swindon, can we just put this one down to bad timing and scheduling, really? It was their 10th game in 32 days. Loads of injuries and absences. It is a big squad, but lots of rotation. Particularly at the back, they're missing a lot of players. They had Ollie Clark, James Ball and Billy Kirkman in the back three. Now, on Football Manager, none of them would have centre-back as their natural position, put it that way. But at this stage of the season, if Swindon do want to finish top three, then, they need to not have many more performances like this because it wasn't very impressive. But it is, to finish, the most impressed I've been with the Shrewsbury Town side for a long time. So I want to give credit to Gavin Cowan and to the team for what was a great display and a great win. Same scoreline at the Abbey, Cambridge 3, Bristol Rovers 1.
Cambridge United would have felt like the 2-1 defeat away at Harrogate the other, 2 games ago was such a frustrating way to end what had been an incredible run at the top end of League Two, where they're banging the mix for a top 3 spot. So the way that they've responded by going to Crawley, beating them 3-0, and then hosting Bristol Rovers and beating them 3-1, 2 teams who need points in order to secure their EFL status for next season, has been incredibly impressive. And they were pretty good here again. Like, it was the same Cambridge that we're used to. They conceded 1 goal. That goal was a penalty. If you take out the goal that Bristol Rovers scored through Quigley, they conceded very little by way of big chance. They didn't create loads, but the goals, the opportunities that they did create were good ones. Ben Knight finishing really well, sweeping the ball into the top right corner with his left foot to make it 1-0. Quigley then equalised. Knight then converted his own penalty before Kellen Watts scored from a set piece with 10 minutes or so to go to make it 3-1. It's just so efficient. Like, they are the team who, we're not going to sit here and talk about incredible individual displays, although Knight's season is really kind of kicking into one of the more impressive things in League Two this season. He scored 8 goals now from just over from 1,150 minutes. That is a hell of a return for a player that isn't an out-and-out striker, as you would say.
I think Watts as well, I'm starting to think, has been one of the defensive stars of the division and offers quite a lot going forward as well.
Adding a goal too. So, they were so good on the day. Bristol Rovers, it's a tough game, a tough assignment for them to get anything out of. It's back-to-back defeats now off the back of 2 wins in a row. You'd think, given how the teams beneath him are struggling, they'll probably be okay. And no kind of huge damage done, I guess, with an away defeat to one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, MK beat Newport by 1-0, very much as expected, and they were ahead within a minute. Jordan Wright, the Newport keeper, rushing out to clear a long ball forward, but scuffing his kick straight to Aaron Collins, who took a touch and kind of just passed it around him into the net from 25 yards. Now, Wright went on to make 8 saves, which included him giving away a penalty and then saving it just for good measure. But the damage was already done. And, statistically, Newport didn't offer very much here with 90 minutes to chase the game. 4 touches in MK's box, 3 shots with none on target. Makes it seem like the comfiest win that MK will possibly have. But Newport did have 2 pretty big chances right at the end. Biggins and Opoku both missed the target when fairly well placed. Certainly Biggins' was a genuine big chance in my eyes. So MK maybe did get a little bit complacent when seeing it out, but they still get the 3 points. It's 5 wins and a draw in their last 6. Their form is rampant at the moment. And actually, you can go back 5 months, and MK have been running at 2 PPG for, the last 22 games, 45 points. It's a very, very impressive run. Big games still to come for MK. They've got 4 of the top 7 to play away from home. They've got the league leaders Bromley to play at home. Their record against the other top teams in the division is going to define whether they do finish as expected in the top 3 or whether they fall short. They're currently 5th, so they need to get into it. they don't have a very good record against top half teams this season, MK. They've only won 3, drawn 6, lost 5. Wow. So really poor against the top half teams, and lots of tough games still to come for them. Same scoreline, Crewe Alex 1, Gills 0, Crewe into the top 7.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think, in the championship segment, how we're getting to the stage of the season now where it's not really worth being too bogged down by performances, where like early in the season, if you see a game and a team win it 2-0, but they play pretty badly and the opposition okay, then you might want to reevaluate what it tells you. And we're kind of there now with Crewe, where I don't think Crewe, personally, in terms of their performances, in terms of their performance against Gillingham on Saturday, and again, they won 1-0, in terms of their performance in previous games, are playing as well as the teams they're going to have to finish above to finish in the top 7. Having said that, we are now in mid-February, and they are 7th. They are ahead of Chesterfield, they're ahead of Walsall, they're ahead of Grimsby, they're ahead of Barnet, they're ahead of Colchester. These are the teams they're going to have to stay ahead of, but they put themselves in a brilliant position to do that, albeit having played a game more, or at least a game more than most of those. Gillingham were the better side here. They created the better chances. The Crewe keeper, Lawler, made a couple of really good saves. Dimitri defended his box incredibly well. And the finish, when it came, after Gillingham had wasted quite a few chances from Thibault, was excellent. Like a sharp ball into him, quite far out on that kind of left side of the box. And he swept it into the bottom right-hand corner with his left foot. So, in terms of the moments in the game that were important, Crewe won those because their keeper made the saves and their attacking player made the finish. But I do think they're going to have to find a way to be better or to be more dominant. But they're not conceding many goals, just 1 goal conceded in their last 4 games. So it's, if you look at the odds at the moment, they are still, according to the bookmakers, they're the outsiders to finish in the top 7 in those teams I just mentioned, despite currently being in the box seat. And that's because the performance, the XG numbers, the ways that you can analyze the data, their performances, is a bit beneath, the points return at the moment. But there's not many games, we're getting to a stage now where if they can mount a run and they can keep conceding few goals, then they're going to be in with the right chance of finishing there. For Gillingham, they'll be frustrated. The away fans have left that game wondering how they've come away with nothing.
Same scoreline at Barrow, 1-0 at home to Colchester. This is massive for them, and it's massive for their new manager. Their 3rd of the season, Dino Mamria. Paul Gallagher, his predecessor, lost all 5 league games after his permanent appointment. Dino's in 1 game, 1 win, 1-0 at home to Colchester. And it was the captain, Niall Canavan, who's been somewhat maligned, I think it's fair to say, by a portion of the fan base. He's been at the heart of some of the bad stuff that Barrow have done, and there's been a lot of that recently in the last couple of months. Their form has been horrendous, but he scored the winner from a set piece. And look, Barrow benefited from something they haven't had for a long time, a bit of fortune, a bit of footballing fortune, which we all need from time to time. Very tight offside, goal disallowed for Colchester. Tavide passing one the wrong side of the post when he just had to roll it into the goal from 8 yards out. Quite a lot of good opportunities that Colchester had, shot straight at the keeper, but they still defended way better than they have done in the last few months. Colchester didn't create loads outside of the chances that I just mentioned. According to one data source, Ben Griffiths' excellent data resource, it's the 5th lowest XG against number of the season for Barrow. So their 5th best defensive display just on that metric of the season. That shows the instant impact of Mamria, and it's broadly what you'd hope for when you appoint Dino Mamria. He has spoken previously that he doesn't like the fact that he's kind of got this reputation for stabilising struggling teams, but it does come from the fact that he has stabilised struggling teams before, most notably at Burton, where he took over 7 games into the 22-23 season. After Hasselbank's Burton hadn't won any of their first 7 games. They finished 15th that season and were safe with 3 games to spare. So it's a similar job with Barrow. It's their first league win since the 20th of September. So what a way to get the fans on board early on. They're probably still going to have to play a bit better in games in order to definitively get away from the relegation zone, but a very, very strong start. And I think he'll have a lot of buy-in, and that reputation that he has will help, I think, with Barrow fans thinking, yeah, this is the guy that we're going to really get behind. And I think he has shown in terms of being quite an infectious leadership type character that he'll probably get something out of this Barrow side. So bad news for those beneath them, and that includes Crawley, George. They lost 2-0 at Tranmere, and they are now the ones teetering above the dotted line, 4 points from the relegation zone.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about Crawley in a second, because I think Tranmere fans, after a run of form which has been pretty troubling for their fans and pretty frustrating, we've got to mention what was a really good win for them off the back of 6 consecutive defeats in all competitions coming into it. And the first goal was a real moment of quality. Zek Obiero, 21-year-old on loan from Leyton Orient, picking up the ball, just driving into the kind of left-hand side of the box and firing the ball into the top left-hand corner. A player who I think really impressed on the day and looks like he could be a really good pickup and a good prospect going forward. And Tranmere were good in the first half. They created more opportunities, and when they got the penalty to make it 2-0, which Ironside converted, it was a pretty good reflection of the game up to that point. As is often the way, they kind of came under the cosh a little bit in the second half, with Crawley dominating the board and creating some decent chances, but never really coming that close to scoring until late on, where Pereira had a shot that was tipped over the bar. But by then it was too little too late anyway. So credit to Tranmere. We've spoken quite a lot in the last couple of weeks about how poor they've been and how we're kind of surprised that they aren't in more trouble this season, given how often they seem to lose games. But this was much better. For Crawley, again, a lot of this team were about to go on a promotion winning run a couple of years ago under this manager in Scott Lindsay. But they are really, really up against it now. Some of the players they brought in particular, Danilo Orsi and Kladai Lolos, 2 players who I'm pretty sure I would have been quite surprised to see back in League Two as quickly as they have been, but having got their moves off the back of the promotion and not succeeded at all, not really looking up to it whatsoever, not adding the kind of quality in the final third that Lindsay would have expected when he brought them back in. Injury issues at the moment as well, meaning quite a few key players are out. I'm worried about them at the moment, because it doesn't really feel like they're playing their part in trying to in securing safety. In the moment, they are relying on Harrogate and Newport to help them do that. They're 4 points clear of Harrogate at the moment, 5 points clear of Newport, but they are losing games at an alarming rate. So, yeah, worried about them. They go to Newport on the 3rd of April, which could be an interesting game if there's still not much in it. But yeah, they are the team at the moment down towards the bottom end of League Two, apart from the 2 current teams that occupy those relegation spots. So you've got to be worried about.
Last week on the pod, we talked about how Tranmere Rovers fan on the squad said, "Can't believe we are where we are in the league table, because I think we're really bad." This is why, because there's also teams like Crawley who've been even worse. Hugh pointed out that in the 3 EFL leagues, in League Two, there are 6 teams averaging less than a point per game this season, which I don't think I've ever really seen before. 6 teams less than 1 PPG. In League One, there's only 1, and that's Vale. Everyone else is getting 1 point a game or more. In the Championship, it's only 2, which I guess would be Wednesday and Oxford United. A couple of draws as well. Chesterfield, well, my voice went weird there. A couple of draws as well. Chesterfield 1, Harrogate 1. A beautiful goal to put Chesterfield ahead. Mandeville with a lovely lofted pass for Lee Bonis to finish. They were the better side, as expected. They were in ascendancy, as expected, until Lee Bonis, mate.
What are you doing?
Booked for a classic bookable offence in the middle of the park, and then not long afterwards took a bang to the head, got ordered off the pitch to get cleaned up. While he was off the pitch, ball dribbled out for a throw next to him. Harrogate player runs over to retrieve the ball. Bonis puts his foot on it and then sort of just rolls it behind him, little back heel back towards the tunnel, and that is delaying the restart. And there cannot be any complaint or surprise here. We've had it enough time now. Is it almost 2 full seasons, or maybe 2.5, where doing that sort of thing gets you a yellow card? As annoying as it might be, he did stop the Harrogate player from taking the throw as quickly as he would have liked. He got sent off for a second yellow. Kind of absurd scene where Paul Cook, his manager, is standing right next to him when he gets a red card. And Bonis is trying to give it like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? And Cook's having none of it. It's just like, come on, get into the dressing room. Made worse by the fact that Harrogate then equalised, which surely they wouldn't have done 11v11. We'll never know, but I wouldn't imagine so. Made the most of it. Tobias Brennan, on loan from Wigan, former Oxford United Academy graduate, running in behind and finishing well. Big point for Harrogate. Big point for Harrogate. Oldham and Fleetwood drew 1-1. This is 15th against 16th, and I think it was a game that very much reflected that. Nice goals, a Helm free kick, and a Stevens equaliser for Oldham that was bits of quality, but not much of that in the rest of the game. Between them, these two teams just finding it really hard to win. Both have won only 3 of their last 12 games. And then Barnet 0, Cheltenham 0 was a match that happened. Good point for Cheltenham, but this is what's tripping Barnet up, I'm afraid. Using Ben Griffiths' amazing resource as well, I can tell you that Barnet have won the XG battle by more than 0.5 expected goals, so a fairly significant margin within the game. 15 times this season they've won the XG battle by more than 0.5 XG. They've only won 7 of those, so they simply have not converted dominant performances into wins, and that's why they are 11th on 47, still only 3 points off the playoff places. That's the thing. If they can change that very underwhelming personality trait and start converting these performances, they can still make the playoffs. But otherwise, it's going to be a frustrating season to a certain extent because of what they could be if they were better in the opposition's box. Good weekend in Sky Bet League 2. Thanks for listening to and or watching our recap. We've done the same for the Championship and for League 1, wherever you found this one. Cheers. Go well.